Hey guys, this is Kirob speaking, and in today's little dev update we are going to take a look at the progress towards completing the Lite campaign V3 and what is going on in development. The good news is, despite the long wait, we now are somewhat feature complete, which doesn't mean that it is ready for you to try out, but because it still looks rather awkward, and is awkward to play because there's very little information in the UI at this moment. But that is going to change in the next few days and weeks. But it is pretty much playable now, unless we have just introduced with the latest patch that came out 2 hours ago. Well, that's not a public one, but internal one. We've introduced lots of mistakes, which I will run into during this little dev update. But yeah, this is the first screen where you avid watchers will be finding some differences. Yes, it has been slightly redesigned. The engineers won't be part of the Lite campaign V3. They are coming back in V4, but we have difficulty presets for the Lite campaign now. These are just the buttons. There are no actual things behind these buttons just yet, but this is the layout you see here. And let me just pull up the UI draft instead while I'm talking about that. Put it on screen here. And yes, one thing you also see is that we have gotten rid of the fixture tech pool that is now part of body. So when you increase that, then the fixtures are getting better as well. It was not that meaningful a category before, but now there are 3 categories of 5 different branches of R&D, which we are also going to take a quick look at what that has changed. And this factory stuff is now also working. Let's start out with a medium plot and a small factory. So, and loads of cash, because why not? Volatility, market volatility to be more precise. And of course, yes, we need a name. We are Reengineering Motors. Alright, not much has changed in this UI. A few changes to the calendar, but it's nowhere near done. But it does function to a large extent, so good news. I have actually been able to play the campaign up to 1975 and beyond. Like normal, like you would in the Lite campaign. And while it's not great yet because so much UI feedback is missing, the things are coming together nicely. For instance, the stuff we've talked about the last few episodes is now in. When you go in here, you see that, Reengineering Motors has a dealership network of level 2 in here, and that means it has certain base awareness. And let me just get a little bit of levels here too. You can see the costs go up with every level up of your dealership network. Let's get small dealerships everywhere. Basically, level 1 is basically one dealership in the capital of the country. Gives you a very low base level of awareness. All those things will be displayed here in these columns as soon as we actually have that. But yes, that is how it works, and it actually does work. It does allow you to sell in these other countries now, which is really nice. The R&D page has changed a little bit as well. It's nowhere near done either, but yes, the calendar is here. And as I told you before, this will be represented by bars later on. These years will become shorter because there's a maximum of 1 new tech per line per year. So it all fits in there if it's just like this wide for each year. And then you will see bars moving down the line from here depending on how, from this baseline. This is where we are right now, start of 1946, from this baseline, and as soon as they hit the item is unlocked. Item unlocking does work as you would expect, and fixtures are still in here. They need to be removed. Because Reengineering Motors is all about the super high grip levels and sports cars. Let's put something into wheels and maybe one into brakes. Yeah, that's a little dangerous to do right now, but... And maybe one into interior for all the prestige and the entertainment. No entertainment! The entertainment is the engine. Alright, we're going to design our new first car and select a few countries to sell it to, basically everything, so that it is in the prognosis or the forecast of the sales. And it builds a cumulative market, basically, from those countries you've selected. So you know that all the countries have different tastes, and those will then, of course, be averaged out by you selecting all the countries. But it will then, if you optimize according to those stats, then, of course, it will fit the average and no country perfectly. So someone who is very specialized and goes in like, oh yeah, we want to make this specialized trim for Arana and this one, the other one for Gazmir, you might end up with better sales overall. But yes, so let's build a basic sports car. A small one. That is tiny. But those things were tiny back in the day. Ah, such a nice first little engine to put into a car like that. Very powerful for back in the day. It's a 1.3 liter engine, inline 4. Beautiful. 66 horsepower. Okay, yeah, this one is performing pretty well. Good sports car. Now let's make a few variants of this. One that is more towards the high-end segment, and then one that is a convertible. So now I've made the convertible as well, but the convertible is a lot heavier than the others, so I think I'm going to do another engine variant for that one. And I mean, my family is good enough to harbor 1.5 liters, not only 1.3. I did choose the 1.3 because it is a bit more rev heavy, and that is good for sports cars. But yeah, maybe throw this one out like this. Becomes red, the slot. And then we create new variant in existing engine project. We use this one, and that is the slot we are going to clone. So there we have our new engine, our clone. And now let me just up the variant capacity. Boom, there we go. Can't rev it quite as high. That is looking good. Slightly more power and a lot more torque down low, so more power available in acceleration. That's all good. And now for the factories. One thing you see up here is a little confusing probably right now, but let me explain what it will be eventually. So let's first go to, not select a new factory, but rather go into the list of available factories. And we started with a small one factory. So let's select this one, add it to the project, and here it is. It's our new factory, needs a new setup, and needs to be modified. And let's go in here. This is that. Okay, small factory. Oh, right. This is now pretty much functional. There's still a few things missing, but, and a little weird. As you can see here, I need to press a button before it updates. But this screen works the following way. I think I explained it like a few months ago as a UI draft. These are the production flags and various requirements that you need to adhere to. So for instance, if you have chosen a monocoque steel chassis, then you will have to use steel presses. Otherwise, this button doesn't highlight. You can't progress, because you wouldn't be able to build that car in that factory. So what happens here in the lower panel is the change list. This isn't complete. This should give you the number of months the change takes, and this is how much it will cost you. So what happens here is, like, we add a small 2 factory, we get rid of a small 1 factory, and we add steel presses. Well, I don't need steel presses for this right now. But production flags, aluminium presses, yes. So this car is made with an aluminium body. And that can be done in various ways. And one of those ways, which I've chosen right now, is to have it handmade. Which takes a little longer, makes the factory overall a little inefficient. Very un-German. So yeah, if you want to change that, you don't have to, but you can change that. You can add aluminium presses. Come on. But well, you can't click that. It should actually be grayed out. You can't collect that because you're not in a medium factory. Only medium factories can have that as an upgrade. That is something that requires a bit more space than a small 2. So, oh no, I can't remove it yet anymore. Oh no, that is cheating, Rob. Now remove it. Okay, good. Whew. Also down here in this list, you see what is going to happen with that. This is the number of. Well, this is the wrong icon, but the number of add-ons the factory has, and unfortunately, can I show you? Can I show you any? Is there any factory available in this scene yet? No, but the factories are almost done. Really cool stuff. I will be able to show you that in the next little dev update, I'm sure. They look very nice, and you can also. With these add-ons are now also visible in them, and the camera rotates around slowly and so on. It's rather pretty. Alright, but let's leave it at a factory size of small 1. We don't need to add anything, and here we go. Oh, the next thing I need to explain. Alright, so here we have our, as you've seen before, our various cars. The UI isn't finished by any means, but anyway. And they are still, the worker wages are still set to race conditions. Yes, perfect. But this field here is something new that I would like to explain. And let me put on another UI draft of what it will be. So this is our new factory hit point system. Factories are, when they are used, are worn down. And even by just merely existing, they are worn down. So the first, the topmost stat, the topmost hit points bar, is the factory building itself. It will deteriorate slowly over time, independent of what you do with it. And once it is worn down a lot, you will take extra damage to your major tooling, which is the second row. The major tooling is providing you with, or the quality of it, is providing you with an upper limit to the efficiency and accuracy of your equipment, of your minor tooling, which is the lower line. So your major tooling is wearing down at, let's say, a rate where you would want to refresh it every 10-ish years. Every 5 years, if like with every facelift, if you really want to have super high quality production, but it's not really necessary. And if you want to really push it, maybe 15 years, if you have a whole model series running for that long, 15 years until you make a new one, then give it a refresh then. So the only problem with these is that when you refresh them, that takes time. And also costs quite a bit, but mainly it takes time. And if you invest time right now instead of later, right now your cars are still better and would sell better. So it is a bit of an opportunity cost there. But also if you refresh your tooling, then you will get higher production quality back again. So it is a bit of a compromise you have to find there, depending on what kind of car you're selling. And how good your quality, tooling quality is, and how high your automation levels are, and so on. And then the last one is the minor tooling. That is the one that needs to be changed ever so often whenever you are adding a new trim or you are changing around anything else, then that one needs to be refreshed anyway. But if you are just running your factory normally, this one will slowly degrade and reduce the tolerances of your cars, or not reduce the tolerances, increase the tolerances, which is bad. So yes, and that will make your productions a little worse over time, while your staff is getting higher and higher qualified because they are getting used to it, which somewhat compensates for this. But the currently empty window up here, the graph window, is where the production quality spread will be shown. Alright, that is, or the build quality rather. And I think that is a reasonably interesting mechanic overall. It's certainly adding a bit more depth to the whole production system, and will force you into making expensive decisions at some point, sooner or later. And if you run your factories at 3 shifts, and have no time for maintenance, well, your tooling will degrade quite a bit faster. That's another thing to consider. Anyway, let's sign this one off and continue on. Now these sliders are properly hooked up to the UI, and now I can show you the effect of the tooling slider. This is the engineering management, and the tooling slider in here is how well your car is, or the design of your car is optimized to be produced in a factory, mass produced in a factory. And if it is all the way up there, then it can be absolutely just spat out. And what you can see is that if you look here, these are the production units per car. This makes quite a bit of difference. At 0, this car, like completely handmade, 680 production units or 950 production units. And at a more reasonable setting, it is just 160. So in the time, you make 5 of these at a normal tooling rate. You can save a lot of money, but then you can only produce like a fifth of the cars. It makes a lot of sense, but yeah, you can save money either earlier or later and make fewer cars. Yeah, so that is working. The reliability slider here is also working, adds reliability to the car. Also depends on the engine reliability, of course. The funding, the pressure is something that probably will be locked for now, because there is no negative effect to it just yet to up the pressure. And that is because there are no engineers that can get pissed off with you. So yeah, that's why it's probably going to be locked at 54 for this update. But now, let's abuse the shit out of it because I can. Let's set this to 12 months worth of engineering time. Yep, that is pretty quick. And now we have our 2 engine variants right here. That is the 1300S and 1500S. And we have to do the same thing here. I did show you that last time. Let's select the factory, modify the factory, and small one. Yes, we have no need for any add-ons. This is all good. Automation level is set somewhat right, and let's sign it off. Let's get the engine also to be... What did we set it to? Was it 12 months? I think so. Yep, there we go. So 12 months worth of engineering time for that one too. And sign it off. So I did shortly mention before that there is something on top here. And let's get quickly back to that. So when we are in any of these, you see, or you will see, where we currently are. Let's see, here it is obvious what is going on, because we are in the car, in that trim, and we are in that engine. But if we are going into a factory, for instance, if we are going to the project, engine project, you need to know where you're coming from. So this is the the weird name currently for that car project. So this would just be the model name. And this is the engine project. This is the car's engine bay that currently is being loaded in. And this is the engine we have come from. We are currently editing the parameters of, or its family in general. So this top bar will kind of keep track for you where you actually are. And we are probably going to make these into buttons so that you can just click on that and get back to that point. For instance, clicking this button, which currently isn't a button, would bring you back to the overview of the engine project and close these windows. But always save whatever you've done so far. The cumulative cost and profit forecaster is quite a bit more advanced now than it was last time I showed you. It now can automatically manage shift count, and it varies pricing and everything, and you see how your desirability is changing with the settings you have. Unfortunately, there's no way to... oh well, there is a way, but it has not been implemented yet. You can't see which button is actually selected. These are toggles, so... or rather selections. So market size increase, how your desirability will drop off or not, and how the economy will behave. This one was needed before, this one will be removed. That was just because the old algorithm that was in here needed that to do something in particular. But that is not the case anymore, so let's just sign it off. Yes, I see there was a lot of problems with the getting negative amounts of money, but we can now sign this one off. And this is the mass sign-off screen. We've talked about that before. If this one takes 13 months to engineer, or to build, depending on what takes longer, the factory or the engineering, then the engine can be aligned. This whole project can be aligned to that. These will also be shown in a rather nicer way like this a little later. But we can now sign them off simultaneously and get them on the way. So here we see our calendar now has an engineering icon that goes 13 months. And let's tick the clock until we are there. And there the production is starting. So let's see what happens. I did build more market awareness stuff, yes. So now let's do something a bit more complex to show you what the system is capable of once hopefully all the bugs are out. And let's say I do want to make a facelift of this one now. Yes, just 1 year later, somehow the engineers messed up and need another try. And let's do something more complicated. One of these wants to have an entirely different engine. One of them wants to keep its engine. And the other wants to have an updated version of its old engine. But all those things at the same time. So, let's see how we do that. First, let's make the entirely new engine. How about a little V12? So we need to delete this engine out of the car. The slot is being deleted, not the actual engine. So let's see, we do want to create an entirely new engine project here. A 3.2 liter V12. That sounds perfect. Yeah, about done. 165 horsepower in that little car. That is rather scary. Now it's scoring very, very well in the hyper segment. Yeah, it's not very drivable, but man, this is some serious stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly going to be a seller in the categories that don't have any population in them. So, and now I do want to make the other engine or update the other engine. So let's choose the sporty one, this one. And I do want to make a new one based on an existing engine project. So these two exist. Let's say I do want to make a new version of that one, the slightly larger one. Oh, I've given it a bit more power. It's all fine. This is now called the E47, of course. And now when we look into the engine project, which this one is part of, you see that, if it actually brought you to the correct tab, that there are two facelifts now. One has been created automatically because I cloned an existing engine, made a new variant of that existing engine, which makes it automatically make a new engine facelift, because there's something that needs to be engineered. And what we have here now is that the new facelift contains the new engine, which is a completed design, as well as both of the old engines. So, well, we don't really need... Oh wait, we did need one of the old ones. This one was being used by our convertible, and this one is currently being used by our current supercar and our current sports car. But yeah, the next generation sports car will be using a variant of this one. Or will be using this one, exactly. So what I can do here is just remove this one using this variant. Are you sure? Yes, 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 exactly. Invalidate the corresponding trims and their car project. Yes. So both engines are now being set to produce in here. But as you can see, only one of them actually needs to be engineered because the other one is done already. So only the new one, is that the correct name? That is, this here, that's just a bug. This is not updating the name currently. But as you can see, it doesn't take all too long. It really doesn't take too long. 1.5 months to re-engineer this thing. Just minor changes. And now for the car factory. Yes, still the same thing. We want to produce all 3 of them. Sign them off, same settings as before. And here we are now at a point that is interesting. This only the re-engineering of the trims itself only takes 3 months. Not long at all. But there is this one engine. That one. No, it's not that one. Engine project has not set to be signed off. Yes. That is because it's not used in anything anymore, is it? For our little new engine, our V12, we do need a new factory to produce that. Let's put it also into a small one on a small plot. Yes. Ooh, that one takes a long time. That is with phenomenal tooling. We don't need that. So pretty much hand built. 12 months worth of engineering. And now I can sign off the entire project as is. So let's go. And here you see that all of them need to be shifted by 12 months in order to match up with this engine. Which is fine, the others can still continue selling in the meantime, because the factories are still running. This one is tooled in a different factory, so it doesn't affect the production of our current generation. So I just sign them off, I agree, and now we have our new trims available there, and there is the engineering project. Now they have stopped production, and there they are back in their new version. Whoa, this one is looking nice. 150. I don't know what happened to the others, why this one is at 33. It's probably something that is bugged or something that I missed when I put that on. Anyway, so now, let's see, is this selling? Is this selling? Oh yes. Oh yeah, the numbers are increasing nicely. Oh, it was going so well. We were on track to becoming profitable. Well, that is for another time, I guess. I hope I was able to show you some of the more advanced mechanics of engine sharing and so on. You can, of course, share all those engines across multiple models as well. That is why the mass sign-off screen is there, so that you can sign off all at once, all different models at once. Like your grand plan is coming to fruition. Anyway, so I hope that was illustrative of what will be possible in the Lite Campaign V3. And hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.